With the abundance of movie news we get daily, it's common for people to react to any little piece of information with either excitement or panic. You can imagine filmmakers are not too pleased about this, because it creates unnecessary worry from the audience. Imagine if the internet existed in the early 70s, and almost everyone knew that the mechanical shark in Jaws was not working properly. People will be saying for months that this nobody Steven Spielberg who's directing the film should be fired and replaced with, I don't know, William Friedkin or somebody. The latest upcoming film to fall under this is the Lego Movie sequel. People are already sounding the alarm bells because they've switched directors and have brought in additional writers, and the film is not even opening until 2019. The first big news to come out of the production of the Lego Movie sequel is that original director Rob Schwab has been replaced by Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell directed Trolls, which was fairly decently received and a box office success. This was the first thing that made people worried. His filmography is a tad on the mixed side, but he is a director who can best be described as a journeyman. A journeyman is Hollywood speak for a competent director who jumps from project to project, the quality varying depending on how good the script is. Studios hire these directors because they don't go overboard on budgets and are commendable enough to get films done on time. So Mike Mitchell is in a class not unlike Sean Levy, Rob Letterman, and Mark Waters. Has he made a good film? I think so. It's called Sky High, one of the more underrated superhero films of the modern age, with a smart script, delightful performances from its young and veteran cast, and a fun take on the comic book genre. It's almost subversive, not unlike the Lego movies. However, the reason I think Mitchell was hired is because the Lego Movie sequel will be a musical, according to Lego Batman director Chris McKay. While I was not the biggest fan of Trolls, that film had an abundance of colorful and energetic musical numbers, which makes him a fitting choice for a musical with a wide variety of Lego characters and worlds. Next, the writers. Phil Lord and Christopher Miller wrote the initial draft, which was passed on to BoJack Horseman creator Raphael Bob Waksberg. It was recently revealed that Matt Fogel has been hired to do a rewrite on the script. Immediately people groaned. Why? Because this is his only screenplay credit. Yes, because working on a big Mama's House sequel as your first credited screenplay is an immediate showcase of your writing skills. It's incredibly likely, no, probable, that his job on that was merely writing whatever jokes came into Martin Lawrence's brain and putting it into screenplay format. But as we all know, the second you work on a script that is widely panned, there's no turning back from that. Did the writer of Mean Girls 2 do anything of note afterwards? Oh, she was nominated for an adapted screenplay Oscar for Hidden Figures, which she was hired to write because she used to work at NASA. Oh, okay, but Eric Heisserer, the writer of the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, he never dug himself into a respectful career after that. Oh, he also got nominated for an Oscar and won a Writers Guild Award for Arrival. But do you know who never stooped to working on these sorts of cash grab projects? Damien Chazelle. He has always been a successful director. Oh, wait, no. He worked on the script for The Last Exorcism Part 2, so he could eat. And very few of his contributions made it to the final film anyway. I feel like I've made a video about this topic before. Aside from the aforementioned reasons, there is actually one film in particular that I think back to and remember its production. There's a strange idea that film production is a smooth process, but it's really not. Films are difficult to get made, and never is that more obvious than what is arguably the most beloved film of all time. The Wizard of Oz. That's right, The Wizard of Oz was a film that went through director changes, writer changes, cast changes, even hurried changes in how they applied the makeup. Victor Fleming, the credited director of The Wizard of Oz, did not even direct many of the Kansas scenes, including the iconic Over the Rainbow number, because he had to leave the production early to replace George Cukor on Gone with the Wind. Yes, Gone with the Wind went through similar issues. If you want a more recent example, recall last summer when it was announced that reshoots were being conducted on Rogue One, a Star Wars story. There were suddenly these accusations that Disney executives wanted to lighten the film up. When it was completed and released in December, light is not the word I would use to describe the finished film. A large majority of the reshoots consisted of the third act, which ended up being most people's favorite part of the movie. Yes, even that infamous scene with Darth Vader came out of the reshoots. Line the movie up my foot. It's also common for animated films to change things in directors, sometimes at the last minute. Andrew Stanton rewrote the ending of WALL-E to have Eve save Wall-E's life, rather than vice versa, even though the large majority of the film had already been animated. Beauty and the Beast, Ratatouille, Shrek, How to Train Your Dragon, The Lion King, The Emperor's New Groove, and Hotel Transylvania all went through a series of directors, a couple of them even being hired with only a short schedule left to finish the film. Even Phil Lord and Christopher Miller were hired, then fired, and then rehired on Cloudy with Chance Meatballs. Speaking of which, what are Phil Lord and Christopher Miller's roles in the Lego Movie sequel? Well, aside from writing the first draft and producing the film, they're overseeing Warner Brothers Animation Unit in another way. This rechristened department is not called the Warner Animation Group for nothing. Warner decided to follow Disney and Pixar's model and institute a think tank of filmmakers who come together and provide feedback on the animated movies in production. In addition to Lord and Miller, Nicholas Stoller, John Requara, and Glenn Ficarra are also a part of this group. With the Lego Movie and the Lego Batman movie both proving to be excellent, creative, and hilarious films, they so far seem to be on the right track. I think it's best to sometimes ignore what the news cycle says and just trust what the filmmakers have in store. Sometimes the films turn out well, sometimes they don't. We just have to wait and see. See you next time.